These flowers are known as common snowdrops, and they typically grow from late winter to early spring. However, today is the 31st of January, and their early appearance might be a sign of what is known as a phenological mismatch. Phenology is the study of the natural life cycle of plants and animals in an ecosystem. So a phenological mismatch is when an animal or plant's behaviour is affected by changes in environmental signals. In the case of these early blooming snowdrops here, it's not uncommon for them to grow when there is still snow on the ground, hence their name. But for them to be out this early in the season could be a sign of a mild winter, which affects the behaviour and reproductive cycle of flowers and their pollinators, which are typically only seen in early spring. Now, here in Britain, mild winters are very common. In fact, the mildest winter on record was all the way back in 1914. However, scientists have observed that mild winters are not only becoming milder, but more frequent as well, which can change the seasonal cycles of organisms in an ecosystem. This is a hazel tree, and these little yellow structures here are called catkins. They are the reproductive organs of the hazel, which produce pollen. Now, it's not unheard of for these catkins to appear in sort of January, February time, but they're most common in March. So this is yet another example of a phenological mismatch, where the hazel has grown its catkins earlier in the year due to mixed environmental signals. So how do we explain a flower like this growing this early in the year? Well, an organism will always emerge from its winter hibernation when the environmental conditions are favourable. However, when a phenological mismatch occurs, it puts organisms like these at risk of not being able to reproduce because there are no pollinators around at this time of year. And likewise, if pollinators were to emerge from hibernation at this time of year due to the milder conditions, they would also be at risk of starvation because there are not enough flowers around. And so these phenological mismatches create ecological imbalances across the ecosystem, which leads to more and more species being threatened with extinction due to natural selection. But if we think about this from a more existential angle as well, winter is the time for the world to rest and recuperate in preparation for spring. And due to climate change and other environmental factors, when a phenological mismatch occurs, like flowers blooming before spring comes, it means those flowers don't have the energy stored in their root systems to grow again in spring, and therefore they may miss their chance to pollinate and reproduce for next year. So although warmer winters might be enjoyable for us, it's important not to forget that nature needs that time to rest, because ecological balance and climate change are inextricably related. And what happens to the climate affects our natural ecosystems, and what happens in our natural ecosystems affect our climate as well.